So thank you very much for the presentation, and it's very exciting, I think, for Fergal and me to be here today and to present to you first insights in our research, the research we are undertaking at the moment. So Fergal will start with the description, with an introduction of the methodology we plan to use, and I will contextualize this. That means I will say how I did it, apply it in my research field. And then I will go on presenting the contents I faced, but I won't focus on it because Nicholas has said already a lot and also did. So I will focus on another aspect, which is the social aspect. Yeah, so not just what they say to each other, the people who are on a common platform, in our case, in the Facebook platform of the Bild Zeitung, but also how they do it. Indeed, I think indeed, I hope we succeed in showing that the Facebook page of the newspaper Bild is a really powerful platform to strengthen authoritarian worldview. So Fergal, please go.
Yeah, thank you very much, Luisa. So I suppose Luisa is doing all of the heavy lifting today, and my function is a sort of water carrier. I'm going to talk today a small bit about methodology, or I suppose the theory of methodology, and later on, again, I'll sort of refer things back to cultural theory. So yeah, so what we did, I suppose, in the study, and we're drawing actually on Luisa's data. I looked at The Guardian as well, but I think Luisa's data fitted this presentation better. But what we did is look to combine participatory observation as a methodology with experiential hermeneutics. So participatory observation is crucial to the field of ethnography, where this research is guided basically by experience sort of unfolding in the field. And you can see here, I suppose, that participatory observation is crucial to understanding sort of implicit logics within different contexts. And we're talking here about, I suppose, about the understanding of cultural formations from an experiential point of view. And this is also true for an online context. So, for example, Sarah Marino, who did a very interesting study of the Italian diaspora, actually, in London, she also sees lurking as a type of participatory observation, because you are sharing the same experience of those you are studying. Even if you're not writing text, you're still reading the same text, and you're still sort of interacting indirectly or maybe implicitly with the same people, and you're sort of understanding their logics if you're doing it well, I suppose. And I suppose interconnected with participatory observation is hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the science, art, or technique of interpretation of written texts, and hermeneutics is something that goes back, I suppose, to theology and the sort of the understanding of the Bible, and then philosophy. And hermeneutics is something that is also embedded in cultural anthropology, okay, as a sort of a part method. So Orthwaite, and he's writing here about the philosophy of anthropology. He sees interpreters as more interested in understanding from the inside a group, and an experiential type of understanding than explaining from the outside. Okay, if you're just analyzing and interpreting sort of data in that sense. And I suppose what we did is we looked to combine participatory observation in a digital context with new methods of data hermeneutics. And data hermeneutics is basically something that has been developed by Paolo Garboida, who's another Italian. There's a lot of Italians in this conference, actually. Interesting. There's an Italian thread the whole time. But a very interesting figure, a political scientist who, I suppose if you're interested in Twitter, he'd be known to everybody. He's an important figure in Twitter studies, if there is such a thing as Twitter studies. And his book, Tweets on the Street from 2012, is sort of one of the foundation texts, actually, of Twitter studies. But according to him, data hermeneutics has the aim of interpreting, reconstructing, and explaining the overarching narratives that underpin social media conversations. So he's talking about close reading, deep analytical engagement with the text, language, tone, imagery, and rhetorical figures. It's basically looking at data, looking at social media data as a type of text, which we can view almost more or less from a literary studies perspective that you can sort of view in relation to these type of actually sort of older methodologies. Okay, so he's talking about reading data as text in relation to the coherent and discrete web of meaning which is there or possibly there. And I'll go back to Luisa there now. I've probably spoken too much, I think, already. You're on mute, Luisa. Luisa.
Thanks. So I will shortly explain how I apply this methodology in the last months. So first of all, I have been looking at different newspapers at also Fergal did, so in different also countries. And now today we focus on the Bild Zeitung, which was quite peculiar in its richness. The Bild Zeitung is the most sold German tabloid newspaper. It has been for a long time the first most sold in Europe, and now it's still the 16th largest circulation worldwide. It is here has been described by Steininger, I think, in a very precise way. Is notorious for its mix of gossip, inflammatory language, and sensationalism, and as having a huge influence on German politicians. And because of its interactive character nowadays with social media, I would say it has a even larger influence, not just on German politicians, but also on the German people in general. So people living in Germany or reading the German newspaper. So actually, I would like to tell you that when we applied for this project, we were thinking about analyzing the comments in the newspaper, so in the online platform of the newspaper. But today, nobody is writing there anymore. Everyone is writing on the social media platform. So there is obviously also the Bild side to have different social media platforms, and we chose the Facebook one. So the data collection started at the end of February and last six weeks, so until Easter. And I was spending there around 4 to 6 hours a day, but not on the weekends. So I had my breaks. I was writing a journal. I mean, Fergal did the same thing in other newspapers. Now, as I'm using my data, I tell you about what I've been doing. So, journal, I was writing a journal. I was doing screenshots, copy paste of chat. Sometimes I used a software which is export comments. And also copy pasting the original article. So we always not just looked at what was going on in the Facebook's website, but also saving how we could the original article in the Bild site, in this case, platform. And beyond this, I was also writing a personal diary. So let's go on the contents. As I said, I won't take time for that. If you want, we can deepen into it in the discussion. I confirm what Nicolas and Alina said. There is a real web of topics, yeah, which when you live in this spaces, you really can expect what people will say to a certain topic and what topic will be connected to the other. So in general, I would say, I would confirm that also in the Bild Zeitung, there is this gender Wahnsinn, so the idea of this gender mania, which is dangerous and a dangerous ideology, the idea of politicians which are not severe enough, and the law and order is absolutely needed. The climate change, why do we get also excited about that? It's normal, it's not man-made, so we don't have any responsibility about that. Then we have racist discourses. For example, non-white population cannot but be abusive. On the other side, we have these politicians which make rules, which put migrants in a privileged position in comparison with the local population. And finally, but actually it continues farther. You see these dots go out of the PowerPoints. But in this core topics, we have German cultural identity, which is imagined as something fixed, which actually is endangered. So we could deepen into the racist discourses, and I can do it in the discussion if you want. I would though continue because of the time towards our aim. So we don't want to focus so much now on contents, but I want to say something more. I already spoke earlier about Eva Ilius. She's a sociologist born in Morocco and grown up in France and then in Israel. She focused very much on emotions and how emotions are used, for example, by far-right populism. We have already also talked about that. We talked, for example, about fear, and she presented this model in a conference some years ago. And the quote is for 2023 because there is her new book in which she refers to it too. And she puts in evidence that what populists do, and she suggests, as said, to do it also for the left-wing populists, is to take the resentment that people have and channel them to the enemy. Though what the far-right populists do is that they choose an enemy which is a scapegoat. So they don't, in her opinion, they don't really target the real problems, but they find some kind of scapegoat. Now, we had before, Nicola spoke about the politicians, but also we spoke a lot about migrants. So, and that is what is most interesting for us. In the ReDICo project, I guess. So they channel this resentment to the scapegoat. But the interesting thing of this model is that there is not just the hate part, but there is the love part. No, and that is the other side of the medal. It's very seldom that people just hate because they want to hate, but most of the time people hate because they are afraid. Yeah, they want to protect something which is valuable to themselves, but also their community. So it's very much about the imaging community, and what I think it's very interesting in our study is that we realized how this love for the imaging community, which goes along with the hate for the others who endanger that, is built in the context of a real community. And I think this is what really make it way stronger, this exchange of information and perspectives, which happen in very many different platforms. So what we observed looking at the Bild Zeitung is that there is most of the time, I would say, there is a harmonic exchange among people writing there. Yeah, so they build their own culture and a feeling of belonging, and I will talk about that in a moment again. So it's really, you are there, and people are saying very horrible things, yeah, very, very violent things, very hating things, but they really are all agree with it and support each other. And actually, so when you are there, you're not feeling a conflict situation at all. There are also not just this kind of situation, there is also another kind of situation, which is one person comes in this chat and try to say to bring counter speech in it, yeah, so says arguments which are not like the ones shared usually in this space. And the fact is that often when it's just one person, you have a group of people coming to him and fighting him or her or the person. So coming to this person and fighting this person with counter narratives, with jokes, with offenses. So actually you find again a situation in which the group really feels strong because they have the feeling here, many people agree with me and we can quickly turn down this person. No? We are many and this person is just one. And very different situation, which happens though rarely, is when many people goes in the same time in this space, and then there you really see you create a space of disagreement, questioning. So what is usually obvious and what is actually at something everyone agree about actually is questioned and delegitimized. So also the belonging is fragmented. Yet, Fergal, you can help me to get more into the first point, which I think is very characteristic for the Bild Zeitung and which we have to look deeper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, we want, I suppose, to link this with a few set of ideas around norm creation actually, and culturality and interculturality. So Jan Blumert in Durkheim and the Internet, I think it was an important book. He writes that people display an outspoken tendency to create norms whenever they are absent or unclearly scripted, and new communication technologies provide us with plenty of examples of that. So I suppose we would see the internet actually as a space of constant norm creation, okay, where norms are created and rethought sort of constantly. And we would link that up actually to older ideas which emanate from our mentor in Jena, Jürgen Bolton. Luisa, do you want to put it on the board? No problems. And Jürgen Bolton talked about the creation of familiarity from unfamiliarity, and conceptualizes this in terms of the creation of culturality from interculturality. And we would see this as a constant sort of process actually in on a platform. And we would also look to link this to the idea of platformization, which Paul et al., okay, in their article from 2019, they talk about platformization as the reorganization of cultural practice and imaginations around platforms, the idea that platforms are worlds within themselves, but are worlds within themselves that actually penetrate other worlds and go beyond the material, okay? And then I suppose we would see this as a cultural practice then of potentially post-digital significance, which goes well beyond the platform itself. Okay, thanks, Luisa. Going back to you. I think we're under time pressure, Luisa.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. But I think it's important to point that out, what it means in the practical way. It means that in these places you really observe how people create their own cultures. How they use smileys, thumb ups, which give also a social connection to the group. So it's this building own culture is connected very much with the feeling of belonging. So I feel seen, I feel understood, I feel appreciated. They have jokes, yeah, they work very much with humor. That means at the same time we have affinity, we understand each other beyond irony. The same things are obvious to all of us. So then they have certain insiders. We are acquainted, and they have a meaning we are acquainted to each other. I can say something coded, and you will understand, and I will understand when you say something coded. So there is a space of one same opinion. Let's say we all believe in it. It must be true. And we are here in harmony and could live in harmony if there weren't the enemies, you know? So they really experience what they are imagining to. So at the same time, they reinforce the feeling of being right. No, we are great and on the right side. And I trust them. So why not taking over the perspective on other issues? Yeah, so the easy, okay, it's a newspaper, it's a message or an article about a certain topic, but you know, the topics go along and I trust them. So what we are bringing here in this presentation is the idea that the social aspect plays, I think, a really important role to just like swap from one topic to the other. And I go with you, I trust you. We have a same culture. Now we are creating it. Now I'm not speaking of German culture, but I'm really speaking of this small culture creating in these spaces. Here's an example that we could look in the discussion. So concluding, I would say that the Bild Facebook community is much more than sharing perspectives and information. It's really creating a common culture and a sense of belonging. And this is a mix which really legitimate and even make you call to act. Yeah, to do something to change the situation. Yeah, I got so much, you know, reading there, being in this space, you get so much emotion and you have the feeling you have to go out and do something, you know, at least spread the voice. And that makes, obviously, the authoritarian culture become the new normal. So thank you very much to everyone here. You can have a short look in the bibliography and otherwise get in contact with us.